Hi everyone, I'd like to introduce you the new API version 3 that is going to be the standard API as of civicrm 3.4. We tried to make this API much more coherent than the previous one and easier to use, and we have provided a tool to explore and generate codes for that API that is provided as part of civicrm. So when you install civicrm, you have the tool I'm going to demonstrate you that is directly plugged on your own data. That API is built on two simple things. One is the entity, which is anything that is, or more or less everything that is stored within civicrm. So you can manipulate activities, you can manipulate keys, you can manipulate contacts, contribution, tags, groups, and so on. There are about 40 different types of activities. Say that we want to start by contacts. On that entity, you are going to do an action. The actions are always to get a list of action, create, delete, update. Let's start by getting a list of action. So that be contact get. You click on it, automatically it generates a request on your data to retrieve the list of contacts based on the criteria. So you can see that on the gray box you have the result. You have always is error, meaning does the API return a proper value or something went wrong on the call, the version of the API, version 3, how many items returned, and values, that is an array that contains the entities retrieved. So in that case, contact get returns a list of contacts every time, the contact type, the sort name, the display name, and so on, the email, the phone number, the gender, the address, and so on. You can manipulate that query and add more parameters or change the parameters. The default ones are: do you want a debug version where the JSON is readable, or just the raw data? So if I uncheck debug, I have the same data but just in one line. That's easier to play using with debug on. Or do you want to return it as a JSON, or do you want to return it as an XML? And that's the XML version. You can also check the version. Do you want version API version 3 or version 2? Because for the next version we're going to keep API version 2. And then you can modify directly the command that you sent. So for instance, I want to add a filter on that query, and I want to say, instead of retrieving all the contacts, I only want the contacts that are contact type individuals. So if I type enter, I get the list, but that time I only have the contact types individual. I can change as well on contact get the parameters of what I want to retrieve. By default I have the address and the phone number and emails and so on. I can decide that in that case the only thing that matters for me is the display name. So I add return display name, enter, I get the result, and I only have the display name. Can decide that I want both the display name and the email, so return display name, comma, email, enter, and I get that list. Before the result of the query on the gray box, we have code generated for this API call that is automatically updated based on the parameters and what you change. The first one is the Smarty syntax. So if you take that, you copy it and you add it into one of the templates of civicrm, that's what you're going to get, the result of the list of contacts of type individual and retrieving the display name and the email. So for instance, if you want to display the list of contacts in the contact summary, which probably wouldn't be very useful, but if you want to display the list of memberships of that contact in the contact summary, you can get the memberships of that contact and copy that Smarty code, put it into the summary template, and you get the list of memberships. The second block is the same API called from PHP. So that's the same parameters, and you get an array with the contacts. The third one is jQuery. If you want to embed that as part of an Ajax, so for instance in the form you want to be able to choose a contact, then you can have an Ajax and plug it onto an autocomplete tool. And as you can see, the syntax between the Smarty, the PHP and the jQuery are quite similar. If you know one, you can know and use the other, and that's why using the API Explorer is quite convenient to generate your PHP code, because that's much easier, as you can see, to try different parameters and to try what happened if I add return something, what happened if I filter on contact subtype, and so on. So you can type directly the command, explore, see if it works, and once you're happy with the result, you use the generated code, copy paste, put that into your own module or your own template or your own jQuery code. Besides getting information, you can also create more entities. Say that we want to create a tag, so we choose the tag API, and we don't want to get the list of tags, which was the previously chosen action. So we can see that we have 5 tags. We have the tag non-profit, we have the tag company, we have the tag government entity, and so on. But we don't want to only get things, we want to create. So I choose action create, and it doesn't directly generate the call, because when you are creating a tag, you need to provide some extra parameters, the values you want to create. Here I have the list of all the fields I can use. So I can put the name, the description, the parent ID of the tag if you want to create a tree, a hierarchy, and so on. Say for that one, we only want to put a name and a description. So the name will be test, and we've got the result is error 0. We have created one, and the value is what we've created. By default, when you create a tag and you don't specify what for that's going to be used, it creates it as a tag for contacts. And then if I go into tag and I get them, I get the full list, and as you can see, right now I'm using the name as the filter, so I'm trying to get all the tags that have the name test, so only the one we just created. If I empty that field and generate the query, we can see that we have the previous 5 tags plus the one we just created. So if you want to create a lot of tags, you can directly type it, tag action create and name equal tag 1, enter. I just created it. Change tag 2, enter. I just created it, and so on. That's about it for me. We quickly introduced you the new API, the new API Explorer and code generator, and the last action that we haven't mentioned is more a tool for you when you develop, because that's quite difficult to guess what's the right name for each of the entities for each field. So if you're wondering what are the available fields for a contact, you can choose entity contact, action, that new action, get field, and that's going to provide you the list of all the fields. So for contact, you can see that you have the name, the contact type, the contact subtype, the values do not phone, email, mail, SMS, and so on. And beside all the fields that belong directly to the contact entity, quite a few fields, scrolling down, we have the groups and the tag, so you can directly get groups or tags or nodes or create them. On that installation we don't have any custom field, but if you do have custom fields, you can as well have them with the get fields, and you will know what's the name of the custom field and what's the code of that field. That's it for now. Read the rest of the blog, join us on the forum. We have still a few things to complete to have that API that covers all the entities and have all the actions that works the same for all entities. Start using it, start migrating your module to the new version. Join us on the forum and help us finishing. Thanks for your attention. Bye bye.